Uh, One of the things I bring up in my talks to individuals is modern science supporting guidance that is present in the ancient Hebrew scriptures. Now, the first five books are called the Pentateuch, and Genesis 21:4 talks about an angel's message to Abram, who heard the voice that told him to leave Ur and to go to the west and find the promised land. And if you recall that he and his wife, Sarah, were in their 90s, and an angel came and said, "You're going to have a child," and they laughed. And sure enough, Isaac was born. But then the angel came back, according to the Hebrew scriptures, and he said to Abram to circumcise Isaac on the eighth day, and yourself and your servants and all descendants of the tribe. And this was followed. And to this day, one of the things that designate male Jews is circumcision. But I want you to remember that eighth day from this words that were written 5,000 years ago. Now, the importance of this is that if you circumcise a child before the eighth day, they have found out the liver has not matured enough to start producing prothrombin to coagulate the blood. And so by waiting to the eighth day for the circumcision, you have less blood loss. And that also the host defense system has been suppressed to protect him from making antibodies against the proteins of the mother. But after he's born and he becomes an independent little creature, by the eighth day, the host defenses in the blood of the white cells and of the liver, which also produces the prothrombin, have been to make cytokines that are defense of the humoral activity of the blood. Well, knowing this, in 1940 at the Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York, which was founded in the early days of the New Republic for diseases of unknown cause and no treatment. And incidentally, under the British domination of the kingdom, that they said the sun never set, Guy's Hospital was founded in London for the same thing, diseases of unknown cause, and it's almost 200 years older than Sloan Kettering. But in 1940 at Sloan Kettering, going through the records, some researcher noted that there was virtually no Jewish cervical cancer. And this was in the days before pap smears, and cervical cancer was a significant cause of death among females. Fortunately, Papanipolos smears have been taken, and you can treat this before it really, starting with just dysplasias and early cancer by conization, you can get 100% cure. Well, the story behind this is that after World War II, they noted that in skin proliferations, skin tags, that there were little, under the microscope, little round structures inside the cells of these papilloma. And they found out that these were virus particles. And before it was over with, they found out that not only in the Guy's Hospital did they find out, gee, we are a much older hospital and there are virtually no Jewish women with cervical cancer. And they went in further, and in both places, they found out that squamous cell carcinoma of the penis was virtually unheard of in Jewish. And that's not a common cancer in the general population, but there were virtually no uh, squamous cell carcinoma of the penis, as well as lack of cervical cancer in the females. Well, as the technology developed, they found out they could culture these little particles that are in the skin tags and squamous, and that there were also these little particles in the cervical cancer cells. And they found out that in uncircumcised males, that the smegma that grows under the skin of the head of the penis, that it's a little lower temperature in the rest of the body, and that this greasy-like exudate that forms underneath the skin of the penis is an ideal location for these viruses to grow. That the virus that they finally found out that there were different strains with antibodies of these human papilloviruses that cause proliferation of cells. And there's benign proliferations as well as this cancer of the cervix and cancer of the penis. And that by doing the circumcision on the 8th day, that you remove the source for where this virus is grows best, and that the males do not infect the females in sexual relations with this virus strain that causes carcinoma. So it's incredible the detail that from 5,000 years ago that are present in the Hebrew scriptures, that modern science is validating that is true. And of course, the next thing you ask is, might there be other things in these scriptures that would be just as true as this scientific story of Abram that became Abraham after he was circumcised, and that has been done for generations among the Jewish people. Now, at this point, again, recall that I gave you my professional background, and that starting in 1985, I was a consultant to Carrington Laboratories that raised $20 million to develop a program to determine what was in aloe leaf gel that had been used for over 5,000 years to support good health. And an interesting story developed that it was acylated mannose that is active in cellular synthesis, and is used in making bioactive compounds. And we had previously established that 9 molecules of this Acemannan is assembled in the endoplasmic reticulum, and that this is a domain on the surface of all membrane cells for cell-to-cell instructions. And each cell with its chromosomes in it is like a biocomputer, and they're all connected by this domain, which is essentially cloud computing, hooking all these biocomputers together to support good health in the body, to optimize the environment inside of all the cells for good health. And we pointed out that that this active ingredient from the aloe also generates millions of adult stem cells that foster replacement or this apoptosis of age damage or non-functioning organizing cells. And I might add, this non-functioning organizing cells that mothers and grandmothers have noted and long said, if you don't use it, you lose it. And apparently at the cell level, you send a signal if you're trying to do a function that it by the very action of exercise or trying to exercise or trying to do the function, that it sends a signal to the bone marrow to send a stem cell to replace an aged, damaged, or non-functioning cell to restore function. And so that's why people can live into their 90s and over 100 with a plant-based diet. And of course, that's one of the things that providing this Acemannan in a dietary supplement provides. And that the efforts to do all of this and all this information that was gathered was thrown away because the FDA rejected the Aloe Ace Mannan because there was no toxicity in routine studies and expanded studies. And the other thing, which was really a heresy, because medicine and FDA is organized one drug, one disease, virtually every deviation from normal health improved with addition of this Aloe Ace Man into the diet, which fostered homeostasis with all the cells. And that's a normal balance. And you don't have deviations from normal when everything is normal inside the cell. So I also offered you, if you wanted to send an email to me, I would send you a copy of the authors and the titles of the papers that show how this Aloe Ace Mannan improves brain function. Now, I'd like to point out that we mentioned that in the composition of matter, that all the little squares were an expression of stable energy. And this was easy for me to accept because in my residency for pathology, if we saw a crystal in the tissues of the kidney or the lungs or anywhere in the body, we would hit it with a probe inside the electron microscope to elevate its energy level above whatever it generally is at. And to get stable again, it puts off light. And the light that it puts off is characteristic of that element. And with a computer hooked to the electron microscope, it can analyze this spectrum of light as it goes back down to a stable state of energy and determine that it's a calcium phosphate crystal or whatever the crystal is, magnesium sulfate. But in the 1930s in California, a physician with an MD degree found out that he could use frequencies of light to cause death to bacteria. And he was using ultraviolet light, which I might add is even used to this day in different systems to kill bacteria and in water and in air that is drawn across a ultraviolet light. Well, for this and not using drugs, the Food and Drug Administration and the American Medical Association attacked Dr. Rife, confiscated his instruments, and sought to destroy his professional reputation. And if you, as I had heard of him before, the jargon that circulates in medicine is that he was way out there, wild man type, doing no formal education, but trying to develop new things that had no scientific basis. Well, I recently read a book that worked with Rife, and he went to the big hospitals and universities and even medical schools in California and did research with them. And they were progressing to find out there were different things about frequencies of light, which are energy. Remember, the energy of photosynthesis is in that little blue-green sector of the spectrum of light from the sun that hits chlorophyll that provides the energy in the cell to put a hook CO2 carbon atoms from CO2 together. Well, the individuals have continued more or less almost clandestinely to do research on different wavelengths of energy and light. And I suspect that since there's energy in all molecules, that the chromosomes that have a chain of elements to make up a code, that there is energy in these chains, and that you can take different frequencies of energy or light and activate genes with the proper instrumentation, which is what the current research is that I've had brought to me from time to time. One of the things is it's usually so expensive that it's not something that is individuals can buy, but only can be used in clinics because you'd have to have multiple patients due to the cost of it. But I suspect it's because of this energy that's inherent with compounds or elements that you can tune in to the energy levels of compounds, much like tuning into a TV channel or a radio channel, and that activate genes and compounds that will activate genes that try their programs for the normal environment within cells and can foster homeostasis with these turning on these genes. So we have individuals that we provide all the inventory of more comprehensive nutrition, but they don't get much benefit. Well, what we're beginning to see is that by combining energy activation with light or microcircuitry with dietary inventory that you provide in the diet, that you can get an even more robust response to move to homeostasis. But that's at the edge of developing research, and it's actually attacked, and holes are punched into it constantly by the conventional medical establishment. So you should never forget the importance of comprehensive nutrition to provide an inventory for the activity of your genes, and your chromosomes are in every cell that has a assembly line in it to make compounds that are functioning in the biochemistry and the physiology of life, and that there seems to be a potential for frequencies of energy to upregulate and downregulate genes. In other words, there are genes that are unhealthy if regulated and are expressed, like cancer genes, which you want to downregulate, and the genes that foster production of glutathione, you want to upregulate. What I'm trying to make the point is that the science of medicine and biology is not static, that there are innovators constantly trying to improve the technology and the knowledge to improve health management. There's long been in literature search for and articles about the fountain of youth and long life and good health. Well, it's probably not in some isolated island or off in some mountain or some special spring, but right in the kitchen and in between your ears, and making the decision to have a broad diet and to eat nutrient-rich foods, not just caloric laden foods that produce obesity. Well, that is sort of review of all the research that I've been involved in the last 39 years, not getting into a lot of detail, but letting you know that there's a lot of potential.